Adults should be calling CPS, particularly on John, but really any parents, any bad parenting where I think that an adult should have stepped in and intervened.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Winchesters, who I actually don't think the Winchesters are the only people in this episode who should be having CPS call on them, unfortunately, but let's start there. With the big question of this week, I've seen it asked a couple of times, but I think the first person I saw it asked to was Whitney Page on TikTok. Don't remember if we talked about it in our Whitney Page episode, which will have come out 2 episodes ago by now, but we recorded so long ago that I don't remember. But was John using the kids as bait here? Was John's whole plan to use his kids as bait?
It is a possibility.
Absolutely. I believe so.
That would actually work really well with this episode, because later we see Sam and Dean using Michael as bait, and it would be really cool to compare, like, how they do that differently.
I think that there's actually very, very clear evidence that that is 100% what's happening here. Like, I don't even think it's actually a stretch. I actually think it's basically as canon as they could get without straight up saying it. Because where is John? What is John doing for these 3 days?
Watching and waiting.
If he's just, like, you know, doing research on the Striga, why can't he do that in the room with his kids? Why are his kids unattended? And also, he just happens to come in the door 30 seconds after Dean can't take the shot.
Yeah, like, he is definitely using them as bait.
The Striga shows up, and within 2 minutes, John is in the room. He hasn't been seen for 3 days. I think he's just been around.
Dude, that's so right. Oh, I hate him even more.
I think he's been sitting out. I think he's been sitting at, you know, a somewhat irresponsible distance from the motel, waiting for them to get attacked. I think that's, where else is he? What else is he doing in this episode?
That's another thing, because when he came in, Dean was already back in the motel room, so how would he know that Dean left?
Exactly.
Because, like, the Striga was in the bedroom. Dean could have been in the other room and just not noticed in time.
Yeah, Dean could already been sucked dry. If the Striga could have gone for Dean over Sam, what's 5-year-old Sam gonna do? Does 5-year-old Sam know how to shoot that shotgun as well as Dean does? I don't think so.
Exactly. So, like, the only thing that makes sense is, like, if for, like, John to know without a doubt that Dean left the motel room is if he was watching.
If you bring your kids to a town where you know the kids are dying and then you leave your kids unattended for 3 days and you happen to show up at the exact moment that they're in trouble, I think that that's pretty clear, cut and dry. I think we can say, yes, that man was using his kids as bait.
Yeah, and now we can compare the way that the different ways that these guys deal with using children as bait. Like with Sam and Dean, like
it was the same hypothetical he gives them every time he leaves them.
Yeah.
Without any, like, hey, like this time in particular, there's a very real chance it actually could happen.
Yeah, but with John, he just doesn't discuss it with them. It's just the same business as always. They have no idea, like, what his plan is. But with Sam and Dean, they make sure that Michael is as
prepared,
aware of the situation as he can be under the circumstances.
So aside from the fact that you know, John's using his kids as bait, I think that this motel employee / owner who kicks Dean out of the arcade, I know it's like the late 80s. I think he should have called CPS on them. I know that it's the late 80s. People don't want to get into other people's business. They don't want to speak up when they see something that's like a little weird. It's not their business, not their kid. But it is very clearly late at night because this motel is closing, like their office is. This child is 9 years old. Where are his parents? And you're just like walk AO into the darkness, into the night.
There's lots of serial killers. It's fine.
Literally. But yeah, I'm just like, I get why he didn't, but like this is an adult who should have seen a child unattended and been like, I'm gonna ask a couple more questions.
Also, what about Pastor Jim?
Yeah, Pastor Jim also.
Dude, he knows John, but like, come on.
So yeah, any of the hunters that looked after them when they were kids or like knew that John was carting the kids all over should have tried to step in. I don't know how they would have managed that because John would just move them again, but he definitely should. Someone should have been stepping in and putting their foot down. Fucking Bobby should have just shot him.
He knows how to hide a body.
Or Ellen. I can't wait till we're in season 2 and Bobby and Ellen are just like people that we know.
Yes.
Anyway, one more CPS moment on the list this week. I'm really sorry, but Joanna, who was supposed to be looking after Michael?
Oh man, she should have taken Michael with her.
Was it the 2 strange men at the motel that you don't know? Was it I think she mentioned a cleaning person?
in this case, like, we don't know as much about their situation as we do with Sam and Dean, and I do genuinely think that Joanna, like, was trying to do her best, like, in a way that John wasn't. Yeah, there were a couple things she could have done a little differently.
Michael is at most maybe like 10. He's not old enough to be left overnight on his own. That's the rules. Can't be leaving 10-year-olds overnight without an adult.
Yeah.
Who was supposed to be looking after him, and where are they?
Wait, how old are you? How old are you supposed to be?
Let's see. I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna look up specifically for Wisconsin. Wisconsin State Law Library, children home alone. Okay, there's no rule in Wisconsin apparently.
But like, in a lot of situations, parents just have no other choice, and like, I think we should try to understand that. But in this case, she could have brought him to the hospital with her, and just like, maybe if she absolutely had to, just tried to get someone else to run the motel counter, because I think that was part of the situation. Like, there was just no one else to run the motel.
Okay, so I found a specific county in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if this is the correct county, but I found a PDF from Jefferson County Human Services Department in Wisconsin, and they say that many experts advise that children under the age of 16 should not be left alone overnight.
16?
That's a bit old.
That's very... Yeah, that's old.
I think that I was probably about that old. My parents would have left me overnight by myself.
You live out in the middle of nowhere.
I live out in the middle of nowhere. No, I agree that 16 does sound a bit old, but like, I definitely think 10 is too young.
Yeah.
For overnight, anyways.
I don't know, I think like 13, 14.
Let's see what the rules are here in Canada.
And I wonder if it's different, like, if you have, like, older... Like, if you're, like, 12 or something, and your sibling's, like, 8...
Yeah, I think it definitely... Oh, in Ontario, we have rules. I'm going to look up the Ontario ones, because that's where Meredith and I live.
The only rules I remember were in North Dakota, but I think that was, like, around the time that my parents were, like, letting us, like... So we were just kind of, like, looking to, like, double-check. But I can't remember, like, any other place that I've lived.
For babysitting courses can be offered between 11 and 12. Like, most kids start babysitting at 12. Home alone. Okay. Only 3 provinces have established minimum ages for leaving a child home alone. But social service agencies typically advise that no child under 12 should be left unaccompanied at home, which is anyone under the age of 18, but 16 is the norm for most provinces. Ontario is 16. You shouldn't be leaving your child home alone. And Manitoba and New Brunswick are 12.
Home alone overnight? Or
it
just
sounds
home
like
alone?
home alone, like overnight, or
Oh,
like
okay,
an
good.
extended amount of time. But yeah, good times. Love that. Definitely Asher's too young, and there's it doesn't seem like there's an adult really supposed to be checking on him. Like, I think Joanna mentioned someone's going to come clean the motel rooms, but she doesn't mention that that person's going to check on him and make sure he's okay, or that he has food, or that he's like fine.
Yeah. I don't know, it's a difficult situation. I'm just wondering if they, like, could have left the counter at the motel empty for a few days, and because it would have been just much better for Joanna to bring him with her.
Well, she said to turn on the no vacancy sign so that like there like no new check-ins were happening, and it seems like Sam and Dean might be the only people who are actually there.
Yeah, I get that Joanna, like, was in a very difficult situation. Like, one of her kids is sick, possibly dying.
Yeah, just take him with you.
Yeah, that's like the only thing I would ask her to do differently, because I think she was trying her best.
Anyway, soul transactions, none except for, maybe being eaten, although I don't think that these are actually souls upon further reflection. Either way, that's a 0 return on investment for the children. And we have a new segment that's not going to be relevant until season 4, but it is a new segment, so we're just going to mention it, much like soul transactions.
It's just so we know that it exists.
It's called One-on-One Time with Cass. I promised that I would start keeping track of the number of one-on-one scenes that each brother has with Castiel. Again, yeah, probably not going to be relevant until season 4, but that is something we're going to keep track of, because I think the numbers are going to be staggering.
Probably.
I think that the number of Dean scenes are going to be 3 to 5 times higher than Sam.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At the least.
And then to finish off this week's episode, we have a line of the week. So guests may have picked lines that were funny or cute or traumatic or emotional. So let's start with Meredith.
You're just going to have to give me a second to look this up on IMDb.
Okay, let's start with Julia then.
That's a good question. No, I feel like, you know what, you go, because I don't want to steal yours.
It's a good thing the magic of editing exists.
So mine is pretty long, and I just took out the Sam bits because the Dean parts are the only part that are important. But I picked, yeah, well, first of all, I'm not going to open fire in a friggin' pediatrics ward. Second, it wouldn't have done any good. The bastard's bulletproof unless he's chowing down on something. And third, I wasn't packing, which is probably good, really good thing because I probably would have just burned a clip in him on principle alone.
Nice. I like the line where Sam is all like freaked out because I'm not using this ID because it says bikini inspector on it. There we go. That one was funny.
Poor Sam. That's such a big brother thing to do to him. Julia, did you come up with one?
I think, the thing is, I have like 3 that I'm thinking of, but I need to pick my favorite.
That's okay.
I think I'm gonna have to pick the one that you said earlier where Dean called Sam like his little brother. Like that one just
so good.
The feels.
I kind of skipped mental health check, not gonna lie, because I think it was pretty obvious that it was bad. I just realized that I didn't say that. I feel like it was so obvious that it's not even worth discussing.
Yeah, honestly, the trauma is very, very. You can see it.
Yeah.
We've kind of discussed it at length throughout the episode.
I meant to say that I was skipping and I just forgot to, but yeah, that is it for this week. I've been KJ here with my guest. Meredith, do you want to give your social media?
Sure, yes. I am Shades of Deianira at Tumblr and Instagram, and if you go there, you'll see lots of drawings for the fantasy novel I'm writing.
Excellent. And Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia. My TikTok is at honorary_idget_67 if you want to see me rant about Supernatural.
I've been KJ. You can find me on all social media platforms at Life Messes of KJ.
Except for TikTok, where you can now find me at SPN Opinions KJ.
If you want to be on the podcast, you can either reach out to me there or you can reach out through the podcast social media. You can email the podcast. Our email address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at SPN Opinions Pod. We are Supernatural Opinions Podcast on Facebook and at Supernatural Opinions Pod on Instagram. And if you could subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast, that really helps people to find us. And if you want to hear more of me and my thoughts, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions, available on all the same places as this one. This podcast was written, recorded, produced, and edited by me. Thank you to Faith Ebert for our logo. Our theme song is by Joe Veretta. Thank you once again to all of our amazing guests.
Don't think in this world I'm supernatural. What we need is a savior, supernatural.